They say there was once a man so wealthy that when he went on vacation, entire economies collapsed. A man whose fortune wasn't in millions or billions, but in numbers so staggering, even today's billionaires look like amateurs standing next to him. And yet, most of the world has never even heard his name. So today we're asking, who is the richest man in human history? To find the answer, we need to go back more than 700 years to the sands of West Africa, a place that held more gold than any king or emperor in Europe could even dream of. Picture this: the Sahara Desert. Most people imagine it as a lifeless wasteland of endless dunes. But in the 14th century, the desert was alive. Caravans stretched across the horizon, camels rocking side to side under the blazing sun. The air was filled with the smell of spices, pepper, cinnamon, saffron, and the sharp, metallic tang of freshly mined gold. Dozens of languages filled the markets, merchants shouting prices, bargaining over goods. And in the distance, the steady beat of drums announced the arrival of yet another caravan. At the center of this world stood the Mali Empire, a land so vast that crossing it from one end to the other could take months. It covered territory that today includes Mali, Senegal, Gambia, Guinea, Nigeria, and beyond. And Mali was rich, not just comfortable, not just prosperous, it was overflowing with wealth. Gold glittered in the markets, adorned nobles in jewelry, and shone in palaces built from stone and clay that glowed orange under the setting sun. And ruling over it all was a man named Mansa Musa. Rise to power, a king by fate. But Musa's rise to power begins with a mystery. The emperor before him, Mansa Bakr II, was obsessed with exploration. He believed there were lands across the Atlantic Ocean waiting to be discovered. So he built a fleet of hundreds of ships and set sail into the unknown. He never came back. To this day, no one knows if he drowned, if he reached new lands, or if he vanished into legend. And so, in 1312, with the throne empty, Musa, then serving as deputy, was crowned king. And with that crown, he gained access to something extraordinary: the largest gold reserves in the known world. At the time, Mali was producing nearly half of all the gold on Earth. Let that sink in. Every second coin in circulation, every royal treasure, every piece of jewelry in Europe, Asia, or the Middle East could have started in Musa's mines. If we translate his fortune into today's economy, estimates reach over $400 billion. That's more than double what Elon Musk or Jeff Bezos have ever controlled at their peak. Even modern tech billionaires would look like small shopkeepers next to Musa. Chroniclers in Cairo, Mecca, and Europe tried to describe his riches, but their words often failed. The Arab historian El-Umari wrote simply, "No one could truly grasp the extent of his riches." The legendary pilgrimage. But gold alone wasn't what made Musa unforgettable. It was the way he carried that wealth into the world. In 1324, he embarked on the Hajj, the sacred pilgrimage to Mecca. For Muslims, it is a journey of humility, reflection, and devotion. But Musa's pilgrimage was anything but humble. Imagine a caravan of 60,000 people, soldiers in armor polished to a mirror shine, officials in robes embroidered with golden thread, and servants hauling food, water, and luxury goods for the long march. And leading the way, hundreds of camels, each carrying over 300 pounds of solid gold. Even the horses were decorated with velvet saddles and bridles made of gold. It wasn't just a pilgrimage, it was a moving empire of wealth. When Musa reached Cairo, his generosity became chaos. He handed out gold to the poor. He sprinkled gold dust to merchants. He donated staggering sums to mosques and scholars. But there was a problem. So much gold flooded the market that its value collapsed. Prices soared, inflation raged, and Cairo's economy didn't recover for more than 10 years. One man's generosity had shaken the financial system of an entire region. But Musa wasn't thinking only about showing off his fortune. He was thinking about his legacy. On his return journey, he brought with him scholars, architects, and poets from across the Islamic world. He invited them to settle in Mali to help turn his empire into a beacon of culture and knowledge. His crown jewel was the city of Timbuktu. Under Musa's rule, it became one of the greatest centers of learning in the medieval world. The University of Sankore held tens of thousands of manuscripts on astronomy, medicine, mathematics, law, and poetry. Some of those manuscripts still survive today, guarded in wooden chests passed down by families in Mali for centuries. They are treasures of paper, just as valuable as gold because they preserve the wisdom of a golden age. Musa also built monumental mosques, the most famous being the Djinguereber Mosque, which still stands more than 700 years later. Using local clay, wood, and stone, but blended with Andalusian design, he created architecture unlike anything Africa had seen before. His empire became so renowned that European cartographers began drawing Africa with the image of a crowned golden king seated at its heart. For traders and explorers, Mali wasn't just a kingdom. It was a dream of wealth and opportunity. The fall of Mali. But golden ages don't last forever. After Musa's death in 1337, the empire carried on for a while. But internal conflicts, shifting trade routes, and invasions slowly weakened it. By the late 16th century, the once mighty Mali Empire was only a shadow of its former self. And yet, Musa's name lived on. For centuries, storytellers across West Africa told tales of his pilgrimage, his generosity, and his unbelievable riches. Historians today still debate the true size of his fortune. Was it $400 billion? 500? More? Maybe it's a number we can never calculate. Because Musa's wealth wasn't just measured in gold. It was in the knowledge he spread, the cities he built, the culture he fostered, and the way he changed the very image of Africa in the eyes of the world. So who was Mansa Musa? He was the king who turned gold into both glory and chaos. The man whose generosity could topple economies, and the richest human being who ever lived. And speaking of rulers who defied expectations, have you heard of the pirate queen who commanded a navy larger than most countries? That is our next story.